Welcome to Faith is the Podcast, everyone. We're all about exploring faith, and how it plays out in our lives. So today we're going deep on a topic that's pretty central for many of us, Jesus's gift of salvation.
Yeah, it's a huge concept. It really makes you
Oh,
think. And digging into different takes on it can be really eye-opening.
totally. So to kind of guide us, we've been looking at this YouTube video. It's called The Aspects of God's Judgment No One Talks About. Big title, right? It's by Dr. David Ogbuelli on the Dominion Mandate channel. And we're going to try to pull out some of the key ideas around salvation that he brings up.
Basically try to get a better grasp on what it all means.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and before we jump in, big thanks to Business Referred for sponsoring this deep dive. So if you're a local business and want to reach our awesome listeners, hit them up at info@businessrefer.com.
Okay, so the video starts off with this really interesting question. What about people hearing the gospel today? Like, is this our only shot? And the idea he puts forward is, yeah, this life right now, that's the time to decide. What I find interesting is how much weight he puts on this life being the defining moment for accepting or rejecting salvation. He really stresses two things: repentance, basically turning away from sin, and then embracing Christ's sacrifice, which is what makes atonement possible.
Right, like those are the cornerstones, the foundation. And it's not just a one and done thing either. The video goes on to say that receiving Christ is just the beginning, then it's all about actually living a righteous life.
That's it. Yeah, it's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Then he gets into what happens if you don't accept this offer of salvation. He talks about a place in Isaiah 5 that wasn't originally intended for humans, but it's been expanding, growing.
He uses some pretty vivid imagery, like a space that keeps getting bigger to hold all the people choosing to go against God's will. It's pretty
For
intense.
sure. And he actually lists some of the folks who might end up there.
Oh,
The wicked, those who live by their own rules.
oh.
So that brings up God's justice. And the video tackles this head on. God's holiness will shine through when judgment comes.
Now, there's this whole bit about Hades. The video questions whether Jesus emptying it means it's now completely empty. And what it says is the part that was called paradise for Old Testament believers, Abraham's bosom. Yeah, that part was emptied when Jesus rose from the dead.
Right. And he ties this to the resurrection. Like it was a game changer. He even mentions how after Jesus came back, many other saints who had died were seen alive by others. He even uses Adam and Eve as examples of those Jesus took up to heaven with him.
But there's a twist, right? He specifically mentions that Judas wasn't part of that. Judas is in hell. So it wasn't like everyone in Hades was let out.
Exactly. And this brings us to the core of the gospel of salvation as he explains it. Jesus' death, his burial, which included his spirit going down, and, here's the kicker, his resurrection.
And he's really adamant that the resurrection is like the linchpin. The whole thing hinges on it. Without it, salvation falls apart. It's what sets Jesus apart from everyone else.
It really makes you think, There's this part where he talks about Jesus preaching to spirits who had been imprisoned since Noah's time, those who disobeyed back then. So it's like maybe they even got another chance.
It's a powerful idea. But the main takeaway is for us right here, right now, this is our chance. This is the time to answer the call.
Absolutely. And he doesn't shy away from the consequences. He basically says, if you reject this offer now, there are eternal repercussions. Heavy stuff.
Okay, so moving on, the video clarifies that even though the paradise section of Hades was emptied, Hades itself is still, well, it's still populated.
Yeah, he uses the descendants of Abraham who rejected Christ as an example. It's like, even though they came from the right lineage, their choices landed them in Hades, like the rich man and Lazarus, that story.
Right, and that helps us understand the difference between Hades and hell. He paints Hades as a temporary holding place, while hell, that's the ultimate destination for those who reject God.
And he doesn't stop there. He goes on to talk about a final judgment after 1,000 years of reigning with Christ. And that includes a first resurrection for believers, then a second one for everyone else.
And at this final judgment, he emphasizes that it's all about your actions, your works, which are all recorded in, get this, books. So God's justice is perfect. Everything's accounted for.
It really drives home the point that it's not just about what you believe, it's about how you live your life. Actions speak louder than words, right?
Right, and that ties into this command to spread the gospel throughout the entire world before the end comes. The reason for this is clear. Everyone gets a chance to hear it, to make a choice. No excuses.
That's a pretty compelling call to action. Spread the word.
And finally, he wraps up by urging us all to accept Christ's sacrifice through repentance and faith. He makes it very clear that simply being a Christian in name only, that's not enough. It's about a genuine personal commitment.
So for all of you listening, this deep dive is all about emphasizing how important this gospel message is, both now and in the future. It's a call to really look inward and think about how you're responding to this offer of salvation.
Here's a final thought to chew on. Given everything we've discussed, what does the urgency of this message mean for you today?
Something to ponder, for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive on Faith is the Podcast.